Hey everybody, this is Steve with FrSky, and today we're going to be talking about rates in Expo and an epiphany I had a while back, and I'm really kind of excited to share this with you because I found that this made a huge difference in the way my planes fly, and it's something that got me started. Occasionally I'll run into somebody, I'm talking to, showing the radio to, and they'll say, I don't use rates in Expo. I've been flying for 30 years and I don't touch that stuff. And I kind of have to explain to them, well, your plane could fly a lot better if you use it. Maybe it's a little bit confusing. Maybe we haven't done a great job of explaining it. So what I've done is I've set up this really, here's something, this is a good example of what not to do. Essentially, this is just for demonstration purposes only. Wouldn't use the rest of these, but I just want to show you each one of these, what they are. For whatever reason, 30% Expo, that is kind of like the gold standard I found when it comes to RC. Just a lot of people stick to 30% Expo. They will set it like this, just one Expo for everything, and it's 30%. And this is what it looks like. Essentially, it deadens the curve off as far as the centers. Kind of what expo means is exponential, and what it does is it makes the curves a little flatter in the center and then much deeper at the edge. So you're mostly going to be staying fairly close to the center of the stick, and so dampening this down a little bit makes a huge difference. Now, as far as Expo, or weights and rates, I should say, you can see that it's not all the way up to 100%. If I were to go in here and switch that upwards, you can see it goes back up to 100%. But anyways, this is what you'd find. It's usually if someone sets it, it's a good idea to do this. You don't normally want 100% weights on any of your control surfaces. You kind of want to make sure you have them set down, and there's usually some idea in the manuals as where to set them at. But we're going to discuss it in a manner that maybe we're not going to use the manual. Maybe we're going to discover our own way. So what I do typically when I set up rates in Expo, and I've been lazy as far as this is concerned, is I'll set the first one. You can see right here, SD up, it's nothing. That means that there's no Expo, and it's 100% rate. So when I have SD up, that means it's full manual. And the reason why I want full manual is because I want to be able to tell what the plane's doing. I do not have any additional mixes on. I love myself some extra mixes, but on here, this is what I use when I'm setting up a plane. I just want to see what it flies like in manual, especially if I'm making sure the CG's right or something else like that. So that's what I stick with. Then the mid position, it's 30% Expo, 70% rates. That tends to be the magic number. The 50-50, so 50% Expo, 50% rates, is for really small planes. Anyway, when I use this, I figured out I can make just about anything fly. Somewhere in here is something that will work at least well enough to keep me flying. But what I decided to do is this, and I started working this recently, is I just start off saying, well, let's find the low rates. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make an assumption. My assumption on 30% Expo is going to be, for this particular example, it's going to be fine. What I want to do is I want to set the rates to low rates. Means that the plane's flying usually 40% throttle or less. This is maybe a slow cruising speed. And what I'll do is I'll set it up so rates are 90%, 80%, or 70% on the sticks, on the switches. So essentially, I'll fly around and I'll keep flipping the switches, and I'll fly for a few minutes at 90%, a couple more minutes at 80%, and a couple more minutes at 70%. And by the end of the flight, one of these is really going to stand out. And this example will say that 80% is what we like. Okay, and then what I do is essentially I'll do the same thing, but this time I'm going over 50% throttle. These are high rates, and you can see the numbers get bigger. 70%, I'm sorry, the numbers get smaller. Um, so it was 90, 80, 70. We're starting off at 70, 60, 50. So as you go faster, maybe 60% makes sense right there out of the three. Maybe 50s, you don't have enough. Your stick movements are, well, it depends on the plane. Maybe you still want some control. 60% feels better than 50%. As you move faster, you want less and less control because small movements make a big difference as you're going faster. But one of these should stand out. And then once you find it, then you go in and you do the same thing. I figure that 80% rates is what I liked for low rates. And then I just took 30%, made it my middle position, and I took off 10 on SD up, and I gave an extra 10 on SD down. One of those should stand out. And I did the same thing with the high rates. So what I did was I had decided that you can't see it because it's hidden right here. 60% was the rates that I liked on high rates. But I gave 40, 50, 60. I'm looking for bigger numbers because as you go faster, you want a little bit more deadening on the sticks because it starts to get more twitchy. So what I ended up with wasn't exactly like this, but in this example, what you have is, this is what I would use, is again 100% no expo, 100% rates on SD up. In the middle switch, which is going to be the low rates, it's going to be 20% expo and 80% rates. And on the bottom switch, it was 40% expo and 60% rates. And if you go through this exercise, you do this, trust me, it is, you'll be like, wow, the plane flies better. And essentially what will happen is you'll take nothing for granted. You'll go do this at all your planes. You want them to fly the best they possibly can. And these numbers are going to be different for different planes. It's not going to be one size fits all. It's not like this is the magic formula and this is what you use for all planes. If the next plane might be smaller, maybe it's a plane you fly faster, maybe you don't really use low rates, so you'll have a faster and fastest rate. I have a glider that it has two rates, slow and slower. So it flies at cruising speed, and then when I hit a thermal or something, I go even slower. I'm trying to slow down. So the slower is my low rates, and my cruising one is the high rates. So that's how you set it up. If you have any questions, feel free to write me. My name is Steve. I can be reached at steve@FrSky, -rc.com. Thanks for watching.